boy named Hamada is fleeing for his life from an invisible man. But actually he's playing a game called Darwin's Game, and the invisible man is his opponent. Hamada attempts to call someone for help using his phone, but he can't make a call. In a hurry, he sends the game's link to his friend Konami, hoping that Konami will come to his rescue. After running for a while, he reaches a dead end and his opponent also appears there. Hamada launches multiple attacks at him, but they are in vain. Soon, the invisible man kills Hamada. The next day, Konami is at school, browsing bikes on his phone as he wants to buy one. But his financial situation isn't stable. His friend Shino approaches him and informs him about a photo of a bloodstained body imprint circulating on social media. She shows him similar imprints that have been found before. Everyone believes it's the work of an artist. At the same time, Kyoto approaches Konami and asks about Hamada. Konami and Shino inform him that Hamada is absent for the day. Kyoto is stunned by this news and asks them to inform him if they receive any updates about Hamada. As he's leaving, Konami tells him about the link he received from Hamada. Kyoto attempts to intervene, but Konami opens the link, revealing a game called Darwin's Game. Suddenly, a snake emerges from the screen and bites Konami. He faints, and a notification appears on the screen, displaying a timer for the next match. After a while, Konami wakes up in the hospital, where the doctor asks him to sign some papers before leaving. However, he drops the pen, finds it, signs the paper and departs. Kyoto and Shino are waiting for him outside. Kyoto advises Konami not to play the game and promises to meet with him later that night for a talk. Meanwhile, the doctor discovers another pen on the floor that is identical to the one Konami used, even though there should have been only one. Konami is on a train, contemplating the game, and despite Kyoto's warning not to, he opens the game again. The game loads, and a battle confirmation appears. Konami accepts it, and the game initiates a battle with an opponent resembling a panda. As soon as Konami looks up from his phone, the Panda Man appears in real life, holding a knife. The Panda Man attempts to attack him, but Konami dodges the attack, pushes the Panda Man aside, and flees the train station. However, the Panda Man pursues him relentlessly. Konami eventually reaches a security guard and pleads for help, but the Panda Man slashes the guard, killing him. Konami is in a state of shock and despair when Kyoto suddenly intervenes and attacks the Panda Man with an arrow. Surprisingly, the arrow doesn't seem to hurt him. The Panda Man turns invisible to counterattack Kyoto, but Kyoto possesses the power to see through the invisibility. Kyoto attacks him numerous times, but it barely harms the Panda Man, who retaliates and weakens Kyoto. Observing this, Konami pushes the Panda Man away, and they both escape. They find a safe hiding spot and lay low. Eventually, the Panda Man locates their location and attempts to find them. Konami tries to call for an ambulance, but his phone isn't working. Kyoto informs him that the game prevents the use of regular phone services, and only the in-game contact options can be used. Soon, Konami receives a message from another player named Shuka offering assistance. Meanwhile, the Panda Man searches the building where they're hiding using the game's map search feature, which can locate the general area of an opponent but not their exact location. Kyoto advises Konami that the Panda Man is his opponent, so if Konami survives until the timer expires, he'll win by default, so he urges Konami to run. Upon hearing this, Konami heads out alone and hides in a restroom. The Panda Man finds him there, but Konami uses a fire extinguisher to blind and attack him. The Panda Man resists and uses his invisibility against Konami. Konami can't see him and is in a bit of trouble. As soon as the Panda Man tries to attack him, a car hits him from behind, saving Konami. Meanwhile, the timer ends and a pop-up appears on the phone, declaring Konami the winner of the match. The Panda Man, after losing, disappears piece by piece, just like pixels in front of Konami. Meanwhile, when Konami reaches the spot where he left Kyoto, he sees that Kyoto is also dead, leaving just a body imprint. Konami also notices a last message from Kyoto before his death, which says, "Survive." The next day, Konami is really depressed as he has lost two of his friends, and he is also stuck in a weird game that he doesn't have a clue about. After a while, he receives a notification from the game that he won a prize from the previous battle. As soon as he accepts the prize, it gets delivered to his home instantly in real life. Inside the box is a gun with ammo. Receiving this gun, Konami decides that he will not lose at this game and will complete it. On the other end, a clan named Ace is going on a murder spree by attacking the other clans of Shibuya. Ace is one of the deadliest clans in Darwin's Game. The next Shuka is counting the body imprints from the game. somebody has killed a group of 12 members. She receives a chat message from Konami saying that he wants to meet her. At night, Konami goes to a factory where Shuka wanted him to meet. Konami asks Shuka about the game and how someone can quit the game. Shuka replies, as she already told Konami on chat, that there is no way to quit the game. Konami questions her, asking how there can be no way out of this, as he doesn't want to be a part of such a deadly game. Shuka replies to him with a grin that the only way is to kill, win, and survive. Konami tries to ask more questions, but Shuka stops him and says that she is not going to answer any more questions as she doesn't trust him right now. To achieve that trust, Shuka tells Konami to reveal his sigil and use it in front of her. Unfortunately, Konami doesn't even know about his sigil as well. Shuka reveals that a sigil is a power given to each player when they start the game and a snake bites them. She tells him to look at his avatar status in the game. But even in the avatar status, there is an error written in place of a sigil. Shuka is shocked, as how can some player not have a sigil? She thinks that Konami is trying to make a fool out of her. Konami asks Shuka how can he gain her trust. Then Shuka tells him to show his bag to prove that he is not holding any weapons. But unfortunately Konami is carrying a gun in his bag. Shuka starts a battle with Konami and begins to attack him. Konami tries to run, but Shuka closes all the openings of the factory with the help of a controller. Since Konami has nowhere to run, the only option for him is to fight Shuka. He draws out the weapon, but Shuka grabs it and breaks it with her chains. Konami then runs and thinks that having a gun at this moment would be really great. Suddenly, something happens with Konami's hands, and a gun appears out of nowhere, which he uses to attack Shuka. Shuka now thinks that Konami was hiding his sigil after all, which he is using now. Konami now understands that what he did just now is his sigil, which he uses again to make another gun. He sets this gun as a decoy and hides. As soon as the decoy gun fires, Shuka rushes towards it and Konami appears from behind and attacks her. Konami is now pointing his gun at her while asking her to surrender. Shuka tells him that she is his opponent, so he should kill her. But Konami disagrees and says that they both should survive this game. Listening to this, Shuka is struck, as she is expecting a different reaction from an opponent. But to end the battle, one has to surrender, and for that reason Shuka surrenders herself. Konami then, feeling exhausted, faints into her lap. Meanwhile, a girl named Rain is spying on Konami and collecting information about him. As soon as Konami wakes up, he is in a luxurious place, lying on a bed with Shuka. Shuka leaps toward him to ask if he can start a family with her, leaving Konami embarrassed. Shuka then explains that what she actually means is to start a clan in the game. They are going by the lift when Shuka tells Konami that the place they are in is a shelter item, which can be bought in the game using 10 points. She also mentions that the shelter item has a time limit of a week, during which no other player can battle them. She also explains to Konami how the points can be converted to cash in real life. Once they get outside, Konami answers Shuka's question with a yes, he will make a clan with her. Then Konami goes to an ATM to withdraw cash for a taxi. At the ATM machine, Konami is shocked to see that his account balance is 1 million yen. This is the cash that he redeems from those 10 game points. He then understands that his friends are playing this game for the money. At the same time, a game notification pops up mentioning the Shibuya treasure hunt. The next day, Konami and Shuka go out in the city where Shuka is teaching him all the rules of the game, like never speaking the name of Darwin's game in public or else he will die. Moreover, Konami asks Shuka why she is playing the game, but Shuka doesn't answer. Later, while shopping, Shuka is trying on some clothes in the changing room, and Konami is standing outside. Meanwhile, Rain sells Konami's information to a mysterious man. The mysterious man reaches Konami and snatches his phone away as he is looking at the game. The man asks Konami to go somewhere since he wants to talk. On the way, the man advises Konami that he should be more careful with his phone because if it gets stolen, he will not be able to buy the shelter or earn points and will eventually die. When they reach a dark alley, the man tells Konami that he is famous for defeating the panda and the undefeated rank player Shuka. After the talk, he challenges Konami to a battle as he wants to know what is special about him. He then attacks Konami and the battle begins. Meanwhile, Shuka gets out of the changing room and notices that Konami is gone. She receives a call from Rain, who was hired by Shuka to collect details of the Ace Clan and Denju Boxing Club. Rain also tells her about Konami's information being sold to the other man. On the other side, Konami is getting beaten up by that man, who taunts him for not being a good fighter. Konami, with a smirk on his face, replies that the man is underestimating him. Konami then attacks with a stun gun and steals his phone. Konami then blackmails the man by pointing his stun gun at his phone and tells him to end this battle. In the meantime, Shuka appears and the man ends the battle. The man then introduces himself as a member of the Denju Boxing Club, and his name is Tenji. At that moment the treasure hunt also begins, and the three of them get stuck in that spot. Shuka tells Konami that they are getting teleported for the treasure hunt, and they might not teleport to the same location. So the first thing to do is to reunite as soon as possible. Konami appears in an apartment, alone, where he receives a notification from the game about the rules. The game is to collect 3 rings in 24 hours, and the player count is 300. Each player who collects the 3 rings in 24 hours wins, and the others die. Each ring carries its own points, and the only way to find the ring is by using the phone camera. When Konami looks through his camera, he finds a ring inside the room. Konami notices that the ring looks normal, but with the camera he is able to see the ruby stone on it, which is worth 5,000 points. Meanwhile, the leader of the Ace clan, Wang, is approached by a girl with fire powers. She tries to attack him, but instead Wang throws her off a building, reducing the player count to 299. A loud sound is playing in Shibuya City, causing all the citizens to go inside their homes and off the street. Certainly, this is done by Darwin's game to ensure that nothing interferes with the game. As Konami gets out of his room, he sees an imprint indicating that the killing spree has begun. He reaches the elevator, but when he uses the camera, he notices that another player is entering the lift. He hides and waits for the player. As the player approaches, he shoots at Konami, who then runs toward the stairs. However, at the end of the stairs, they find themselves blocked by vines. Konami rushes toward the elevator, where the player catches up to him. To save his life, Konami offers the ring to the player, who accepts it and exits through the elevator. Konami becomes frustrated and also tries to use the elevator but is stopped by Rain. Rain prevents him from entering that elevator. Konami is confused, but as the elevator arrives, he discovers the body of the same player who took the ring from him lying there, indicating that the elevator is a wrong move. Rain informs Konami that there is a florist in the building who is blocking all the exits with vines, and the elevator is a death trap. Rain then proposes that they work together for the best outcome. With limited options, Konami accepts her proposal. Meanwhile, a group of people is watching this game and placing bets on different players. The rankings of the top players are also displayed. Shuka is first with 6 rings, Wang is second with 5 rings, and the florist who blocked the building is third. Konami and Rain navigate a corridor where they come across another body imprint. Something clicks in Konami, and he suddenly realizes that the player in the elevator didn't leave an imprint, which means he is not dead, and the florist is controlling their bodies. As they attempt to flee, the players catch up to them and attack. Rain throws a grenade to create an escape opportunity, but the players continue to pursue them. Konami stops and contemplates how they are being tracked. He suddenly notices the CCTV cameras and realizes that the florist is in the control room, observing them through the cameras. He shoots at the cameras to conceal their location. The florist is impressed by Konami's quick thinking. Now unable to find them through the cameras, the florist devises a new plan to search every room. Meanwhile, Konami and Rain are hiding in a room, certain that the florist's men will find them. They devise their own plan. When the florist's men search the same room, they don't find them. Suddenly, they hear an explosion caused by Rain to unblock the stairway, but one grenade is not enough. Rain is soon attacked by the florist's men. While they shoot at her, a flashback reveals the moment when Rain was bitten by the game's snake, giving her powers. Rain possesses the power of foresight, allowing her to glimpse the near future before it happens. Consequently, she can anticipate the trajectory of bullets coming her way, and easily dodge them to escape. At one point, she stops and retaliates with a sniper rifle, ultimately killing them. Observing this, the florist is impressed but soon realizes that Konami is missing. On the other hand, Konami reaches the first floor with plans to breach the control room. Suddenly, the florist emerges and challenges Konami. The battle commences, with the florist using his powers to create armor from vines, rendering Konami's attacks ineffective. The florist overwhelms Konami, causing him to zone out. In this state, Konami sees a man resembling himself who informs him that his sigil is more potent than he realizes. When Konami regains his senses, he creates specialized bullets and wields a heavy machine gun. These bullets pierce through the florist's armor, shattering it into pieces. The florist prepares for a final strike when a hallucination of his daughter appears, and in the next moment, he lies defeated on the floor. Defeated by Konami, he urges Konami to end his life, as he is already dying from a heart disease. Konami refuses, stating that he won't kill a man who will naturally meet his end. Rain arrives and updates them on the progress of the other players in the building. At this point, Wang has acquired 32 rings, making it impossible for Konami and Rain to defeat such formidable opponents. Konami suggests that they form a clan, including the Florist, and work together to acquire the rings. Konami asks whether they want to die alone or win together. The next day, Kurama is asleep in his room. In the dream world, Kurama encounters Kyoto in a somber setting. He questions Kyoto about why he initially joined Darwin's game. Kyoto explains that he joined for the money but later discovered its deadly intentions. While they are conversing, Hamada arrives and informs Kyoto that it's time to leave. Kurama expresses his desire to join them, but they prevent him from doing so. Kyoto and Hamada explain to Kurama that it's not his time yet, and he needs to complete Darwin's game first since they couldn't do it on their own. Kurama wakes up and receives a text from Suka, who informs him that she will be at their location soon. Meanwhile, the scene shifts to Suka, who is ruthlessly eliminating a group of snipers. She is greatly annoyed by them and decides to seek refuge in an underground mall to stay off the radar. There, she notices a young girl following her from a distance. On the other hand, Kurama steps outside and sees Ren outside her room. She updates Kurama on the current situation and mentions that the Ace clan has remained inactive for a while. She warns that they might launch an attack during the night. Later, they visit the storage room where they had previously captured the individual who saved Kurama. He introduces himself as Ryuji, and Kurama invites him to join their clan, offering him 3 rings as a gesture of gratitude for saving his life. However, Ryuji declines the offer, stating his lack of interest. Kurama then proposes to release Ryuji in exchange for him ceasing his attacks on them, to which Ryuji agrees. They release him. Florist informs Kurama and the others that the Ace clan comprises over 60 members, while their group consists of only 4 individuals, including Suka. They express concerns about the daunting task of defeating the Ace clan. Meanwhile, Ryuji, who was on his way, returns to inquire if Wang is participating in this event. Ren confirms Wang's involvement, prompting Ryuji to accept Kurama's request to join their team for the sake of seeking revenge against Wang. The scene shifts to the Ace clan, who, having collected 32 rings, plan to attack the building where Kurama and his team are located. Kurama mentions that they possess 15 rings and proposes a plan to distribute them evenly. However, Ren notices a sudden change in the rules. Rare gems now cost less than standard gems. Kurama agrees but is interrupted by Ryuji, who advises them not to worry about rule changes and focus on dealing with the Ace clan first. Florist inquires if Kurama was supposed to meet Suka at that moment. Kurama checks his phone and finds a text from Suka, indicating that she is in trouble and needs assistance. The scene shifts to a flashback where Suka was near the underground mall. She is suddenly attacked by a water-based assailant but manages to evade the attack. As she attempts to escape, she confronts her attacker, leading to a clash of powers. Suka decides to flee since she has never faced a water user before, but her attacker traps her in an ice barrier. Kurama wonders if Suka is playing a prank, but Ren assures him that Suka wouldn't joke about such a situation, and they must help her. Ren advises Kurama to recognize that she is not a weak player, and that the threat Suka faces must be a player with immense power. Ryuji teams up with Kurama to go to Suka's location. Outside, Ryuji asks Kurama about his powers and suggests creating many rings to secure victory. Kurama explains that he cannot recreate objects like cars, cash, or gems, and even if he did, they would disappear within 24 hours, rendering them worthless. Kurama then inquires about Ryuji's powers, and Ryuji dismisses them as worthless, but he actually possesses the ability to detect lies. Meanwhile, Ren is inside the building, covering Kurama and Ryuji. She examines the rings closely and discovers QR codes inside them. After scanning the code, she finds a series of numbers. The florist also arrives and scans his rings, but all the codes display different sequences. On the other side, Kurama and Ryuji arrive at the underground area where Suka's location was supposed to be. They sense a human presence nearby and request the person to come out, assuring them that no harm will come their way. The girl from earlier emerges from behind a pole and informs them that she is unharmed and has no intention of causing harm. She introduces herself as Rami. Ryuji employs his lie detection powers, confirming that she is telling the truth, and they continue their mission. However, Rami advises them not to proceed to the mall, but they disregard her warning. Upon reaching the mall, they discover it is flooded with water. Inside the mall, Suka is seen clinging to a signpost to avoid drowning. She eventually loses her grip and starts to drown. Outside, Kurama prepares to dive in to rescue Suka despite Ryuji's attempt to stop him. Kurama asserts that he will never let any of his clan members die due to his negligence. He plunges into the water to search for Suka. Meanwhile, Ryuji questions Rumi about her knowledge of the situation or who might be responsible. In response, Rumi attacks him and flees, taking refuge in a grocery store and muttering to herself. She reveals that she needs to collect 6 rings, 1 for each of them, referring to her twin brother, the same person who attacked Suka in the mall. Ryuji enters the mall and finds a cell phone on the ground. As he reaches for it, Rumi throws a vending machine at him, trapping him in ice. She approaches him with the intent to kill but stops herself, recognizing the wrongness of her actions. Elsewhere, Kurama reaches a dead end, breaks a wall for some fresh air, and notices that his phone is displaying rings submerged in the water. Realizing that trying to carry Suka out might lead to both of them freezing to death, he administers CPR to revive Suka. She regains consciousness and expresses gratitude to Kurama for saving her, sealing it with a kiss. She then asks Kurama if he wants to know why she joined Darwin's game, to which he agrees. In a flashback, Suka reveals that her father used to play the game, and one night, a mysterious man entered their home and murdered her parents. Suka witnessed the entire tragedy from her room and vowed to find the game's creator, and the man who killed her parents. The flashback concludes and they head to the mall, where Rumi and Ryuji await them. On the other side, the Ace clan learns about the QR code and realizes that collecting the rings is just one step in winning the game. Shortly after, the diamond ring is released within the building, prompting the Ace clan to make their way there. In the mall, Ren sends a text to Kaname regarding the QR code and cautions him to be careful due to the release of the diamond ring. Suka questions Rumi about her earlier attack, and Rumi explains that she aims to collect as many rings as possible to bring her deceased twin brother back to life. She reveals that her friend introduced her to an app that grants wishes, and she wished for her brother's revival. They now share the same body, but Suka points out that it's a scam related to playing the game. Nonetheless, Suka expresses gratitude to Rumi for the kiss from Kaname, which brought them closer. They invite Rumi to join their clan, and she accepts the offer. Moments later, Kaname receives a message about the rings and instructs Suka to drop all her rings as they pursue the real treasure. He also informs Ren and Floris of the plan. Eventually, all the players gather around the building to collect the diamond rings. Ren prepares to discard all the rings and depart, but the florist disagrees. He explains that he needs all the cash from the rings because his daughter is suffering from a serious illness, and the surgery will be costly. Ren doesn't argue further and gets ready to leave. But before departing, she tells the florist that if she were his daughter, and she would be saddened to know her father is risking his life for her. The florist replies that this is the most valuable thing he can provide for her. Once Ren leaves, all the players enter the building and the Ace clan sends a team to the upper floors. Before entering the elevator, their leader checks for traps, and his intuition proves correct when the florist's veins attack him. However, due to his firepower, he eliminates them and reaches the upper floor. Upon receiving a call from their leader, the rest of the team prepares to enter the building. As soon as the elevator doors open, the florist steps out and ruthlessly eliminates all the team members. On the other side, Wang's henchman waits for the team to arrive and wonders why they are taking so much time. As the elevator door opens, Florist emerges covered in blood and informs him that his team is dead. Hearing this, the henchman becomes furious and they engage in a fight. Outside the building, Ren checks the player count and discovers that only 98 players remain. Afterward, she obtains the code for the diamond ring and departs. She ponders whether the numbers within the rings represent coordinates, and if deciphering the code will lead to the treasure's location. After decoding the numbers, Ren determines the location and arrives there, wondering if the Ace clan has also found it. To her surprise, the Ace clan was already waiting for them. Ren hides behind the pillars and wonders if they are aware of the location. While she is contemplating, she overhears two Ace clan members conversing. They admit that they don't know where the treasure is, but when someone arrives, they force them to reveal the information and obtain the treasure. One of them possesses the power to sense presence through smell and detects Ren's presence. Realizing her cover is blown, Ren makes a hasty escape. Wang eventually finds her and captures her. He attempts to extract the location from her through torture, but she insists she doesn't know. Before Wang can take further action, Kaname and his clan arrive and rescue her. Kaname proposes a deal to Wang, offering to reveal the treasure's location in exchange for letting the others go. However, Wang rejects the offer and they engage in combat. Ren is taken to a room with Kaname, who tells her that she is the only one who can decipher the code and complete the game. On the other side, Wang is shown fighting Ryuji, who questions Wang's ability to fight. In response, Wang approaches Ryuji and severs his hand, revealing that he has long sought revenge for the murder of his younger brother. The scene shifts back to Ren, who successfully deciphers the game's code and quickly relays the information to Kanem. Returning to Ryuji and Wang, a confrontation escalates as Wang prepares to kill them. However, Kanem intervenes and offers Wang a key to the treasure in exchange for Ryuji's release. Wang hesitates but ultimately accepts the offer. As he reaches for the key, Kanem enters the code Ren provided, winning the game. Before Wang can react, all the players freeze and are teleported back to their respective locations. Following this, a broadcast event reveals that Kanem won the game, stunning all the viewers, except for one individual who had bet on him. Upon opening the treasure box, Kanem finds a cell phone and expresses frustration that all the killing was for such a trivial object. He criticizes the game as foolish and receives a call from the game master. Venting his anger, Kanem questions why the game master created the game. The game master clarifies that he only designed the interface and nothing more. He then informs Kanem that he has earned 5,000 points and a wish. Kanem requests to be freed from the game, but the game master initially rejects the wish. After deliberation, the game master presents two options. Kanem can win Darwin's game, and it will end, or he can meet the game master and terminate the game himself. But Kanem chooses the latter and the game master accepts, explaining that the wish will make Kanem invincible and preserve everyone's lives. The story advances 3 months later, where a butler informs Florist's daughter of her father's passing, and provides her with a substantial amount of insurance money, which was arranged by Ren, her deceased team member's daughter. Inside the Danjo gym, Danjo's wife heals Ryuji's arm and he resumes training. Kanem also trains at the same gym and asks Danjo, the gym's owner, to join his clan. Intrigued by the offer, Danjo challenges Kanem to prove himself. Kanem accepts the terms, and they engage in a match with Kanem using short-range attacks to defend against Danjo's assaults. Ren and Ryuji watch the match from a distance, praising Kanem for his ability to identify his opponent's weak points. Impressed by Kanem's exceptional skills, Danjo accepts his offer and becomes his ally. Simultaneously, a mysterious lady arrives and informs Kanem that they need to talk. Kanem briefly envisions being slashed by her and dying on the spot, but it turns out to be a hallucination. The girl introduces herself as Sui Len and, after removing her mask, kidnaps Kanem. Upon hearing the news of Kanem's abduction by Sui Len, Suka seeks out Ren and Ryuji for assistance. Ren explains that Sui Len is a high-ranking player in the game, and her ability is not a skill but rather a martial arts style she used before joining the game. Suka tracks Kanem's location, and they embark on their mission. Meanwhile, Kanem is bound in Sui Len's car and questions her about her motives, given her high rank in the game. Sui Len reveals that she wants to train Kanem because she sees potential in him to become a great assassin. At that moment, Rei and the others locate Kanem's car, prompting Suka to call Kanem. Sui Len checks Kanem's phone and notices numerous missed calls from Suka. Kanem returns the call, and Sui Len instructs him to tell his clan to back off and leave. However, Kanem chooses to have his clan confront Sui Len and proposes a deal with her. He offers to do anything for her if she can take him away without harming any members of his clan. Sui Len recognizes Kanem's potential and envisions him as the ideal partner to have children with, passing on their skills to the next generation. Suka is outraged by Kanem's kidnapping and pursues Sui Len's car alongside Rain, Ryuji, and Sui. They engage in an intense battle on the car roofs until Kanem intervenes by throwing bottles of wine to defuse the situation. Shuka employs her chains to direct the bottles onto the tires of Shu Lan's car, freezing the contents and immobilizing the vehicle. Shu Lan concedes defeat and expresses her desire to join the Sunset Ravens clan. Despite objections from some clan members, Kanem agrees to let Sui Len join their ranks. Meanwhile, the 8th clan is already plotting their new revenge. They hold Kane's schoolmate Shinuzuka captive and torture him in order to lure Kanem to an old warehouse. Kanem is furious and immediately sets out to free his friend, supported by the Sunset Ravens and Inukai. Before the clan arrives at the warehouses, a large police contingent is already there, but the 8th slaughters the entire task force without much effort. When the Sunset Ravens arrive, they immediately set about fighting the 8th. Sui and Rain join forces against the attackers, and Inukai fights the martial artist Keiichi. However, when Kanem learns that Shinuzuka has been killed, something changes in him. Now, with Hamada, Kyoto, and Shinuzuka, 3 of his classmates have been killed in this game. Breaking his own supreme principles of not unnecessarily hurting anyone, He decides there is no other option but to kill the 8th. Kanaim aggressively fights his way forward, shooting anyone who gets in his way. Meanwhile, Shuka single-handedly takes on Wang. She has spanned the entire warehouse with thin wires, which she can control with micro-vibrations. Using her sigil without moving much herself, she manages to fend off Wang's attacks, cutting off his limbs in the process. Finally, she catches Wang in the wire net and sends him plummeting from the sky. Wang is able to use his sigil just in time to avoid a fatal impact, but Kanaim and Ryuji are already standing in front of him, pointing their weapons. Kanaim now reveals his granted privilege to Wang. He is a high roller who went all in the fight against the 8th clan. This now means that all of the 8th clan's points are transferred to the Sunset Ravens account, and the opponents have thus lost the game. The remaining 8th members are now transferred, including Wang, who Kane shoots in the head as a last farewell. The battle against the 8th is now over, but Kane swears revenge on the Game Masters. He wants to end this game once and for all, and his clan agrees to support him in this endeavor. Together, the now bloodthirsty Sunset Ravens take over the Shibuya area and declare it a D-game-free zone. The Game Master, on the other hand, is delighted with the developments. Now the game can finally reach its next level. Like this video and subscribe to Annie Summary for more anime recap.